to the first episode of Ask the Betrayed. I'm Sharon,
And I'm Rae.
and we're hoping to create a place that partners can come and learn about the journey and the process of healing from betrayal trauma. I am Sharon of James and Sharon, and my husband is James. James and I have a private practice in West Palm Beach, Florida, and in Bristol, Tennessee, and we run intensives. I am an LCSW, a licensed clinical social worker. I am a certified clinical partner specialist. I am a certified clinical trauma professional, and I am a professional life coach. And I have had the pleasure of working with you for eight
Gosh,
and a half years.
you're asking me to do math? Since 2018. That's what I remember.
Okay, so since then,
Wow.
I could have looked the world over and not found someone whose heart sings about this subject the same way that mine does. And
Aw.
thank you for sharing this journey with us. And will you tell people about who you are?
I will. And I am equally excited to be here talking with you about things that matter so much to both of us. Like, I think we bring out the best in each other when we have these real conversations about really important things in our own unique way. So, my name is Rae Galen Emerson of Rae Galen Emerson, but my business name is Healing Talks Back, and I am a certified life, relationship, and divorce recovery coach. I work exclusively with clients healing from some kind of relational trauma. So, addiction, abandonment, abuse, betrayal, deception, divorce, infidelity. So, that entire cluster of interpersonal crises that happen within our lives and relationships. So, I work with a lot of the same types of clients that you and James do at Core: men, women, and couples healing from relational trauma, and specifically the complexities of a relationship impacted by sexual or relational infidelity.
So that's what we're bringing to the table. And I think we will bring a perspective to this that might be fresh.
Mm.
The freshness being that you got to take your eyes off of your man, ladies, right? You've got to put your eyes on yourself. And
Mm.
so I think talking about why folks who have been impacted by problematic sexual behavior or infidelity, any type of betrayal, talk about why it is so important that you get help, and not just help, but the right kind of help.
Mm. Well, and I think you and I have talked a lot about the fact that, and even with the title of our podcast being Ask the Betrayed, that identity of that betrayal experience isn't the end stop for us. It's not where we want to stay. We don't want it to become the defining reality or the defining identity of our lives moving forward. And so, how do we get from that betrayal experience to the life that comes beyond that experience?
Mhm. I think that it's important to talk about the difference between the type of therapy or coaching that we would want for someone versus what might be out there. And so I'm going to make a plea to you that if you are seeing a regular therapist, and even maybe a regular trauma therapist, that you look into finding someone who can come to you with the very nuanced
Mm.
understanding of the complexities of being in a relationship with someone who has betrayed you.
Mhm.
So let's talk about APSATS for a minute.
Let's talk about APSATS.
Let's talk about APSATS. So APSATS is an organization that's near and dear to both of our hearts. I am a previous board of director member. You are a current board of director member. And this is the organization that is the gold standard of training coaches and therapists who specialize in helping you heal betrayal trauma.
I think it's important to say that APSATS is our matchmaker. I don't think I would have met you and James if it hadn't been for not only the training that APSATS created and taught to us as helping professionals, but also the communal network of specialists who really have taken a long tried and true methodology for trauma recovery and applied it to this experience of sexual betrayal within a relationship. And so, really identifying what are the steps to move through and beyond that trauma in this very specific type of encounter.
Yes. I agree. I love the sense of community that is within our APSATS community and how available the majority of the folks that we know anyway are to the idea of teamwork.
Yeah. Well, and when you talk about nuance, I think that's really important because we all know when it comes to either therapy or coaching, having the right fit between the practitioner and the client is really important. But also, I always think and feel that we can't heal in spaces where we don't feel connection or we don't feel represented. And so, one of the beautiful things about APSATS is that if there's something that I don't do or don't do well, I have a really close connection, a network with somebody else who does do it and does it exceptionally well. So, there's a very active cross referral workflow that happens between us as a team, as a community of helping professionals in support for those healing from betrayal trauma.
Yes. I love how this network is crisscrossing its way across the world. And so, if you are listening to this and you're interested in an APSATS trained coach or therapist, go to apsats.org
Mhm.
and pick the Find a Specialist button and put in where you live and see if you can find someone close. I will say that the beauty of the coaching world and life these days, we can do our work via Zoom, and a lot of us only see people via Zoom. James and I only see folks via Zoom unless you come to us for an intensive, and then that is face to face, either in Florida or in Tennessee. And I know that you can be found at different conferences and retreats in person, and otherwise, you do Zoom work as well.
Well, and I'll be honest, as an introvert, online work and this telehealth sort of paradigm that we now utilize on the daily, this is my comfort zone. It brings out the best in me. And so I can often feel like I show up best for my clients from the comfort of my own chair and my own room and my own lighting and my own pets that serve as my own little weighted blankets on my lap. So there is a beauty. And to be fair, for survivors of betrayal trauma, who are struggling with juggling so many dang things at once. The accessibility of being able to click a Zoom link and be connected without having to hire a babysitter, hop in the car, drive across traffic, all of those things is huge. So it has really benefited our work. I often say we were Zoom people before Zoom was popular
We
because
were. We were. I remember in the beginning of my journey, the effort that it took to get in the car and present myself in the therapy room. I often think about that when I'm Zooming with a new client and just how much comfort they receive from being in their own place as well.
Mhm. Yeah, I remember those days when I was holding life together by a very tight, very ready to snap kind of thread. And I would get in my car to drive to either my support group or my therapy sessions. And the second I would turn my key in the ignition in the car, the waterworks would start because there was something in my mind body connection that knew, okay, I was going to this place, this space, this time where for just 2 hours, I didn't have to hold it all together and I didn't have to act like I was okay when I really wasn't okay. And I could just let somebody else hold that space for me versus me feeling the pressure of having to hold it together for everybody else, including the person I loved, right? And so there was a lot of different dynamics going on, and that relief of being able to put my well being in the supportive care and space of somebody else, even just for an hour to a week, was life-changing.
Yes, it is life changing. This is not a journey to take alone. And as helpful as we hope this podcast will be, watching a podcast or 1,000 podcasts is not the same as doing the work. We can change things by knowing things.
Mhm.
But if we really want change to be sustained, we have to feel them, and it has to be an interchange with someone else.
Mhm.
So here's for all the feels, right? Because we don't change in our heads, we change in our bodies.
Mm.
I think that that's something that we'll talk about over time is the idea of how we as a collection of women who have gotten our PhDs beyond whatever else we knew in life, but our PhDs in sex addiction or problematic sexual behavior or affairs or whatever it is, how intellectually we are seeking knowledge all of the time. Our brain is kind of saying, if you know enough, you're going to be okay. And there's something to be said for knowing a lot. And how does it impact you? What information can you learn so that you can live differently and live happier? Did I just
Mhm.
go off on a tangent?
Maybe, but that's okay. Because here's what I'm thinking in response to hearing that. So I remember what it was like to have someone else tell me they believed I could do something hard,
Mm,
right? And at first, it was important for me to trust their confidence in me that I could do this hard thing because I just didn't know. It was unproven, it was untested, it was theoretical or hypothetical. And then I did it once. And all I still knew was that I could do it once. But I had some faith at that point, or some hope, maybe is a better way to say it, that if I did it once, I could maybe do it again. And so I think about that a lot when it comes to the early hard steps that we take when it comes to healing from that betrayal trauma experience, where doing it once is the start that can then potentially build the momentum to do it again, to do it again. And like you said, it's not about the things that we learn or the things that we hear. I really do believe, and I think I've learned a lot of this from you, that it is the things that we do and the ways that we be in our own lives post betrayal that make all of the difference.
yes. I think it might be interesting to talk about some of the very first things we should do. And I think that my first thought is tell the truth.
Mm.
It's hard. Lots of times, as betrayed, we have responded to the fundamental need to hold our families together, whatever that looks like, whatever configuration of family we have. And we have to actively make the choice to tell the truth about what is happening in our lives. The truth for me can be summed up in what I thought every morning when I woke up for a couple of years, and that was my life is a Jerry Springer show. And not everybody knows who Jerry Springer is. And so
Right.
if you're young enough to not know who Jerry Springer is, Google Jerry Springer and you will
Or
understand
don't.
what I mean. But my life was a calamity.
Mhm. Yeah.
And so, really being able to tell the truth. My husband has betrayed me. I didn't know. The rug has been pulled out from under me, and I really question who I am. Those were kind of the original truths for me.
Mhm. Yeah.
What about
Yeah.
for you?
I think to summarize it like that, to condense it, distill it down like that, my truth was I was deeply in love with someone who was also breaking my heart on the daily. And that combination of realities, like I felt at the beginning, maybe like I had to choose one or the other to be the truth. And because that was the truth, the other thing was less true. But in retrospect, I don't believe that. I really do believe those two truths lived concurrently in me. And the other kind of conflicted truth that I really remember feeling was that I was fragile and I was strong. Like I knew I was not the person who was going to back away from something hard. I knew that I wasn't the person who was going to back away from something complicated. So I knew that I was ready, able, and willing to take on tough relationship stuff. But if there was denial in my life and in my story, it existed there. It was where I was also not really connected to how fragile I was or how devastating a toll it was actually having on me.
Yes.
So that sense of being strong, ready, and willing, and also on the edge of losing myself altogether, that was my truth for a long time.
Mhm. It's hard to speak our truths to ourselves. And then the next step is to find that helper or that support that you can speak your truth to,
Mhm.
right? And speaking it out loud somehow makes it truer and at the same time can help put some balm on some
Mhm.
really terrifying and scary feelings.
Mhm. Mhm. Well, I remember being told at the beginning that there is no unhappiness too great to be lessened and no problem or pain too great to be shared. And I think that I've often felt like we focus in betrayal trauma recovery on having someone there for us and with us when things are hard. But I also really believe very passionately that we deserve and need someone with us to celebrate the good things or the successes or the victories along the way, those huge baby steps that are not really small in the grand scheme of things. We need that just as much. You've
Gosh,
been that
that's, oh,
in many ways.
that's so important because otherwise we get stuck.
Hmm.
If we are only sharing the pain that we have, if we're only sharing the terror of how do I put one foot in front of the other without the noticing that we are actually putting one foot in front of the other and having someone being able to be a little more objective to our subjective experience. To have someone who's actually being an objective observer watching us take the steps forward. And you're not always going to agree with everything the helper's going to say. You might fight back a little bit about it. Oh, yes, I have my giraffe. Giraffe lives on my desk now. I had a client who picked a giraffe for a sand tray, and it talked about how giraffes are this great connector between the spiritual and the ground that they stay on. And so I find myself grabbing my giraffe all the time. So,
If that is not a description of you, I don't know what is. Now, for those of you who don't know, Sharon is short. How tall are you?
well, I say I'm 5'4", but I'm really 5'2", maybe.
Okay, so
Maybe
am
I'm
I
five.
for that matter. Yeah, okay. But seriously, like you live your life as a dreamer. You live your life as a lover and as a hoper. Is that a word? A hoper? Someone who hopes. But you are the most grounded version of that I've ever met.
Wow.
So I find it very ironic and delightful that you have a giraffe, you, Miss Short Person, have a giraffe to highlight and remember that.
Oh, well, thank you. I've learned a lot in this journey. And I'm going to say that I am a two-time winner in the Betrayal lottery. And I had the fortune to have a husband who put everything he had into recovery. And maybe this is just this little minute of hope. If you need to know that there are people out there who can make it and
Mhm.
Core Relationship Recovery, which is the company that James and I own and that we are lucky enough to have you be a part of. We hold space for marriages making it. And so we have hope for you. Our email is hopeforus.com. And that's the hope for us and the hope for you.
Hmm. And can I just jump on that and say, and I'll share this, I have no shame in sharing the fact that I'm also a two-time survivor of betrayal trauma within my two marriages, neither of which survived the impact of sexual betrayal when all was said and done. And I am also passionate about helping marriages that can stay together and want to stay together and have what it takes to contribute to that stay together. I also am equally passionate about hope for those whose relationships don't survive. I remember the point in time when it was super crystal clear to me that the end of my marriage would be a tragedy from where I was at that point in time, and it would not be the worst version of the tragedy. The worst version of the tragedy would be if I saved my marriage and lost myself in the process. That would have been a worse scenario for me to find myself in. So for me, it's the emerging from betrayal trauma with hope and passion and light and life again, regardless of what happens with the relationship. That is, to me, a meaningful barometer of what survival from it ultimately is about.
Yes. Yeah, beautifully said. I witnessed you bravely putting yourself back together, and you did it with such grace, such exquisite detail, and you are one of the bravest women that I know.
From you, that's a compliment.
We probably are going to cry some during
Oh,
this.
yeah. We'll
So
cry a lot. We will laugh a lot. We will be irreverent together and we'll be serious. And you know what? I was thinking about this morning, Sharon. We're both truth speakers.
Mhm.
Like, I think when we think about, and we were talking about this earlier, why betrayal survivors need help and deserve help. Speaking truth is a huge part of speaking reality, tough conversations with tenderness.
Yes.
But that's one of the things that you and I think, have bonded over is that we are not afraid to have the hard conversations and to speak the tough love. I often say we have been lied to too much for one lifetime already to contribute in any way toward deception or manipulation or distortions. We don't want to contribute to that. So that's why we're truth speakers, truth sayers.
Yes. And strong advocates for health, whatever that looks like.
Yeah. Yeah. What does health look like in your world right now?
So, health in my world right now, in my personal world, looks like a reclamation of a healthy body. My body is not healthy right now. And so, God and I have had a little talk about it, and He's breathing in some motivation to me so that I can put one foot in front of the other and get my body back to health. Health looks like being present
Oh.
for life, being present for the people that I love, being present for the beautiful things that I have to be grateful for.
Mm.
Health always looks like an internal evaluation, not an external evaluation. And I know that you've heard me say this. I know that when I start picking at my lovely husband, James, it's because I am out of balance. And so that's sort of the health that I'm seeking personally right now. And marriage wise, we continue to learn new things about each other, even though we work together and we have been through this journey where we've uncovered so much. I heard two stories last week during an intensive about James that I never knew before.
Really?
I know it's hard to
And
believe.
how long have you been married? A while.
18, 19, something.
We'll ask him.
I, he'll know. I have no idea. A long time we've been married. I love how each day can be new. And I remember how valuable that was. I
Yeah.
remember sometimes laying my little head down at night thinking I just can't endure one more day of feeling the sorrow and the grief of what's happened in my
Mhm.
marriage. And just having that last thought of tomorrow morning will be a new day.
Yeah.
And whether the circumstances change or not, I will have more energy for it in the morning.
Mhm.
What does health look like for you?
Hmm. I'm saying no a lot right now.
Mm,
I'm realizing I don't have to do all the things on all the days for all the reasons. That's health for me right now. Using my voice, balance, because I'm really good at extremes. I
yes.
can do extremes really well. And I think this season of my life has been about bringing more balance into it, pacing myself, giving myself time to rest in between adventures and endeavors. Lots of transition, as you know. So I'm letting go of a lot of things these days. So I'm moving in the middle of a big move. And as you know, boxes and packing and deciding what to keep and what to downsize and what to put in storage and all of the things. There's always layers, internal layers of letting go of stuff for
Mm,
me and making choices. Lots of transition and trying to do it with grace.
yes. Yes. When you were talking about moving, I was thinking about how this journey can be a lot like moving and how we sort of want to have the perfect list of tasks in order to get to the finish line. And how at some point we have to stop relying on what we think we know in order to actually make it happen.
Yeah. Can I just say, like right now, that is a trap. That is a something I could fall into so easily because I'm looking at parts of my life and realizing I really don't know what's just around the curve. I really don't know what's just around the corner. And I could let myself get stuck there so easily. And when you ask me what is healthy for me right now or what is health for me right now, if I go a little deeper than what I just said, I honestly think it's about happiness. A few years ago, I did a creative writing exercise, and there was a theme that kept coming up. Two words for me: happiness matters.
Hmm.
Happiness matters in my life. And then I realized I needed to add another line to it and say, my happiness
Yes.
matters. I
Yes.
have spent so much of my life doing the right thing, doing the smart thing, doing the brave thing, doing the hard thing. And I actually am learning how to do the happy thing. And it has brought a dimension to my life that was missing for a while. I mean, again, when you met me, I was coming back online
Hmm.
after so much of my life shut down and came to a halt. And I didn't know who I was going to be. I didn't know how well I was going to pull out of that. And so to me, finding myself able to say, I am not just okay, I am happy, and being brave enough to say that, knowing that sadness often comes in waves in between those happy moments. Yeah, that's a lot of help for me these days.
I love that. You know, we have a vision of what happy should look like. And I think that one of the greatest gifts in this journey for all of us is to be able to grab those moments of grace that can make you happy, that can make you smile, that can make you feel that spike of joy as often as you can. You can feel utterly devastated and have a joyful moment all at the same time.
And the happiness does not delegitimize the hurt
Mhm.
any more than the hurt delegitimizes the happy. So I work a lot with survivors whose relationships don't survive in some state of a betrayal related separation or divorce. And that's a question that I get a lot is, was any of it real?
Mm.
right? Because when you got so many questions about what was and wasn't real, it's easy to doubt one or the other of those, the happiness or the hurt. But to get into that headspace and to really start cultivating in ourselves that sense that both happiness and hurt are real, and we don't have to displace one in order to accept or come to terms with the other.
Beautifully said. Yeah.
Hard lesson, though.
Really hard, really hard. And perhaps not something that you would ever wrestle with unless faced with the reality of it.
I remember in my APSATS training for the first time hearing Dr. Barbara Steffens refer to betrayal trauma as an existential trauma. And I left that conversation with a deeper dimension to the idea of it impacts every part of who we are. It encompasses so much. And to me, it was being able to categorize it in a big way like that that elicited so much self-compassion and patience and understanding rather than just going through something hard. To put it in words like existential trauma felt like it fit the experience.
Yeah, smart lady.
She is.
We're lucky to know her and to have had her pioneer the beautiful work that now so many people are doing in terms of trail trauma. So, what was one unexpected thing early in your journey? And what was something that you didn't expect to happen and you were happy that it happened early in your journey?
So I was probably 6 months in when I'd been going to a support group every single week, saved my life, literally, on more than one occasion. Um, I remember going to that meeting, and for the first time in 6 months, when it was my turn to share about what was going on in my life, I shared about a problem at work.
Hmm.
And I remember leaving that night feeling kind of sheepish about it, like maybe there was something wrong with the fact that this problem wasn't feeling as all consuming anymore. But then it dawned on me my life was healing to the point where it was no longer all consuming anymore. That there was actually room in my life again to have a problem that wasn't my husband and it wasn't the hurt and it wasn't the betrayal. That caught me by surprise.
I love that. I made up that question as we were talking, and so I have no idea how to answer it.
Love your best questions happen on the fly, Sharon.
So I think that the really early surprise for me, and not that it remained my primary focus, but the very first night that I realized that I was married to a sex addict, I recognized that I had sacrificed so much of myself in order to live with an active addict. And that recognition was galvanizing to me to push forward and to say, no more. I need to be my authentic self in every arena of my life. And
Mm,
however that's going to happen, that has to be my mission and my goal. Certainly, he took pole position lots of times after that, but in that moment, having that realization and it wasn't a you're a bad person realization, it wasn't a blamey, it was a self-compassionate sort of, ooh, I don't like who I am. I don't like how I've chosen to be, and I have control over that.
mhm. That sense of choosing
Hmm.
what healing is going to look like in your life, choosing
What
what,
was important,
mm,
what mattered to me.
Yeah.
When I was talking about the giraffe and you said something about love, I thought that in order to be me and to be the lover, not lover, but lover that I am, that I had to sacrifice myself in every relationship that I had in order to be that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's not what love is.
Mm. What is love?
So that is a reflection of parts of my heart and my soul that needed to be healed. And I think, gosh, what is love? I don't know. I just really love people. I love who people are. I love, I don't know. What is love? That's such a
Mhm.
great question. Maybe we
Mhm.
should ask people to comment on that.
I love that idea.
What do you all
Yeah.
think love is?
What do y'all think love is? And I think ultimately what I hear in your story, what I resonate with in mine and with all of the clients that we work with on a day-to-day basis is the idea that love becomes healthier as we become healthier. Like we learn to love ourselves, we learn to love each other in healthier ways. I was telling our groups the other day that healthy relationships come from healthy people. Right? It really takes that sense of healthy self-awareness, healthy self-control, healthy self-love in order to be a good partner and to know what good partnership looks like when you see it. Can I just say that when we come up against questions that we don't always have the answers to, I think that's my favorite part of this work. Like, seriously, Sharon, if I ever think I have all the answers, will you please knock me upside the head or something? Because I don't ever want to be there. I don't ever want to be the kind of specialist or expert or advocate that thinks that I understand it all. Because what a dead end to curiosity, to connection, to relationships, to all of it. Let's
Isn't,
not ever do that.
isn't that true? Yeah, let's not. I do know that we're supposed to talk about some specific things.
We got a list?
We got stuff we got a list.
Okay.
So askthebetrayed@gmail.com is our email. Please, if you liked what we did, give us a thumbs up, push the subscribe button, and leave a comment if you want. Please know that if you do email us, we will read everything that we get. We cannot always comment on everything that we get, and we cannot do therapy and coaching via email. We hope that you will join us again next time. And in the off weeks, watch Ask. That's not what it's called. What is it called?
Unfaithful.
Ask the Unfaithful. Right. There are maybe 40 episodes of that now. So you can start at the beginning and work your way through to hear James and Sam bring their beautiful wisdom to the process, or you can just pick topics from the titles.
I have to admit, I have watched all of them out of order.
You have.
Um,
I have to admit that I have not watched all of them.
should we tell them?
I think we just did.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Oh, well.
Oh well. All right. Thanks for joining me.
Oh, thank you, my friend.